Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community.
Hello, and welcome to the June 25th edition of the Modernize or Die CFML News Edition podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Davis, and with me today I have Brad Wood. Say hello, Brad.
Hi, how you doing? I'm the lead architect for Ortus Solutions, and I'm happy to be the redhead with the redneck today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a good one. Gavin is still away on...
Was that sarcasm, Andrew?
I loved it.
Are you patronizing me?
You call me a redneck.
No, you called yourself a redneck.
Yeah, actually, no, I think Luis called me a redneck. I think he's the one that started that. But I can't deny it.
It all happened in the Ortus keynote at Into the Box.
Yes, but big surprise for us all. Well, Gavin's still away on vacation, learning his or working on his accent there, and I've got Brad here with me, and we're going to cover the news and events for you for this week. There's really not a whole lot of changes as far as what's happening. Right now, the biggest talk that we have coming up is going to be about CF Summit starting September 30th through October 2nd, and that's in Las Vegas. Brad, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
About CF Summit? It's Vegas, baby. What else is there to say? I mean, also, what happens in CF Summit stays in CF Summit, so can't get much more specific, you know.
Some of that is true because I would get there and I'd have all this stuff on my head, you know, to come back and learn and do. And when I get home, I'm like, crap, what is it? And I think
that's just the alcohol talk and the after party. That's what happened there.
Probably so. Yeah, that happens.
No, CF Summit's the biggest attendance-wise Cold Fusion conference that we have. So it's always a big deal. There's always a big party. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of booths going on. It's a fun time, and it's got the whole Cold Fusion team going on as well, the actual engineers. So it's a great place to be able to pin them down and talk to them. So
yep, and early bird registration is extended to June 30th.
Yeah, don't waste that. So
make sure everybody's aware of that. And also in conjunction with CF Summit, they're doing the Cold Fusion Specialist program, which is a little pre-workshop there. You can register for it separately whenever you register for the CF Summit. It is a price of $399, and that's the early bird pricing. Don't know any word yet as to what that's going to change to, but as soon as we know, we're going to let you guys know. But if you're interested, go ahead and sign up. They're working on curriculum now, and it's going to be good. So yeah, that's the certification. Do you know?
That's not the only training though going on.
Absolutely not. As everyone knows, Ortus, they like to do their own boot camps. And
we like to training. Doesn't quite work, does it?
Yeah, no. But I could throw you a full screen and we can see if you can do a little dance. Yeah. So
I would. There's not enough room in the studio, so
okay.
Knock over this nice desk we're sitting on.
Yeah. Well, the after CF Summit, there's going to be a 2-day training on Thursday and Friday, the 3rd and 4th. And
there'll be two day trainings. That's a veritable 4 days of training, but you have to pick one.
Right. So unless you have already been able to clone yourself, then you could actually go into both. I don't know. Or if you're a company and legally you're there with a separate, one entity, then technically you're there at all of them, right?
Sure.
We'll
charge you for both.
We'll charge you for both. So Ortus is putting on the Cold Box Zero to Hero workshop, which I've been able to attend, and it's excellent. Gavin and Eric are both putting that one on, but there's also a more advanced one for the Hero to Superhero, the API edition that Luis and Brad here are going to be doing as well. So if you've already attended to Zero to Hero, interested in some more advanced techniques, definitely check out this workshop. I'm excited to see what all it entails. I've been trying to hunt and peck around and find the hitting documents as to what the agenda is. I'm a little anxious myself
Well, the superhero one I think might actually involve some superpowers like flight. We'll see about that.
Where are we flying to? All the way across the pond?
Yeah. We're flying to CF Camp. No. But yeah, so we're hitting the whole range here. A lot of trainings. You have some people that come and they're brand new to cold box, and so a lot of stuff's above their head. Other people come to a training with a lot of cold box knowledge, and so it's kind of a lot of repetition for them. So with the zero to hero and the hero to superhero, you can kind of choose where you're at, and if you want to learn the basics or if you want to really learn some of the more advanced stuff. So I'm excited about these 2 sessions since I think it'll cover a pretty broad range of interest.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. Now, one change from last week, we had told you where this training was going to be, is actually now going to be at the Aria Resort and Casino. You guys are getting 2 big, nice suites, right?
That's actually really, really comfortable. A lot of trainings kind of happen in a sort of sterile, conference room environment, but it's a very exclusive, comfortable environment. We do these in the suites. It's we have the little kitchenette usually there. We can kind of just hang out, and it's just a nice, comfortable place to learn. So you definitely want to register because the space is more limited. So you want to get in there quick. But those are really great, fun times there when we do the training in the suites in Vegas.
Yep, absolutely. The first one I attended was in a suite, and it was really cool. Like I said,
it was sweet, wasn't it?
It was very sweet.
I remember that when we had to close the blinds because the sun came in. It was like, there's that giant window right there.
Oh yeah, big, huge window all the way across. It was a sweet suite. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. Oh geez, gotta love it. So anyway, on to the next item of agenda is more training. There's also a 2-day boot camp in Bangalore, India, October 16th and 17th. And tell us do you know who's going to be doing that, Brad?
Luis is doing that. The loser, he's going by himself and not even taking me. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of Indian side companies that are doing CFML. The entire Adobe team is in there. We're hoping to see if some of them can get to the training as well. So if you're from the India area, if I say the India area as though it's small, it's huge. If you're from the Bangalore area or you know anybody that works over there, this is going to be a great opportunity to get an in-person training. It's should be pretty good. I think I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like from the notes here, we'll be building a Twitter clone called Soapbox. So I think it's going to be one of the sort of basic zero to hero flows. So,
yep, excellent. That'll be interesting. It'll be good to see. There are there are a lot of shops in India, and it'll be nice to. I know some of them are on the modern practices. Some of them are not. A lot of the guys I've talked to recently are all very cold box and modernized. So it's really nice. Keep train across the world. I think that's going to be the new mission of Ortus. There, it's going to be train across the world, spread the good news, right?
I know. Well, I mean, I'm excited to see the activity that's been happening in India. Like Adobe, they had their Cold Fusion Summit in Vegas, and they spread that out into the Cold Fusion Summit East. And now Adobe's been having their Cold Fusion Summit India as well. So there's a lot of activity going over there. So that's pretty exciting. Yep. The registration is open for that. So we should have that link in the show notes for the Zero to Hero in Bangalore.
Yep, absolutely. And also going on close at the same time, we have CF Camp, which is going to be in Munich. It's going to be the 17th and 18th of October. And we do have some updated info for you guys on that.
Yeah. So it's going to be in the same place it was last year, which is a really nice hotel. I absolutely just love their whole breakfast area. It was lunch as well. They had a really cool food setup, but it's actually in Freising, Germany, which is 15-20 minutes from Munich. I mean, you can get an Uber to take you there. But it's got a lot of little shops and a bunch of walking places. There's a really good Greek restaurant. It's all about the food for me, right? So if you're wanting to come to CF Camp and bring your wife along or bring your husband, you can send them shopping, in downtown Freising while you're at the conference. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, sounds great. Now, the call for speaker deadline is July 7th, and we've got a more precise update on that. It is midnight UTC time, July 7th.
Look at that.
That is the
so specific.
But we do have some information from them as well. They currently have 90 submissions. Yeah, that's a good bit of submissions.
So are like 80 of those Nolan Irks, or?
I think at least, I know 20 of them are Nolan's at least. I don't know if he was able to squeeze any more in there or not. But
I think he's been cut off.
Yeah, that was the latest. He was cut off, blocked his IP and everything. Nah, just kidding.
Yeah.
But they do have some areas that they would like some more submissions on. Some of them being the IDEs and editors for CFML. Something on analytics. They're looking for company culture and agile/lean approaches. Also on topics for continuous integration and pipelines, crash reporting, and security. And that's not to say that they haven't already received some topics on those, but they're just kind of maybe wanting more, just have a better selection pool.
Yeah, that's a pretty good broad list. So, I mean, if you have any thoughts, I mean, and to be honest, some people who haven't presented are thinking like, oh, I'm not qualified to submit a topic. But I mean, let's say crash reporting and application performance, right? Maybe you do a lot with Fusion Reactor and there's, 10 really useful screens in there that you like. I mean, you could do a talk that just goes through those and shows people how to use them. It doesn't always have to be a super in-depth kind of a setup. So definitely submit topics to fill in some of those gaps if you're going to be at CF Camp.
Yeah, definitely. Don't hesitate to submit. I mean, you can't do any worse than I did. So just go for it, man.
Hey, you lived. That's half the battle sometimes.
I did live. Yep. Actually, I was supposed to get that fixed yesterday, and I canceled that. We'll talk about that later. So that's CF Camp there for you. Hope you guys can attend. Get your submissions into them. All the links for that is going to be in your show notes.
Yeah, one of the things they said they already have a lot of is JavaScript related talks. So there's quite a few of those. So that's why they put that list out of some of the ones they'd prefer to have instead.
Right.
I like that though. Helps us submit useful things.
Curate it around a little bit, and
yeah. You know what else is going on at CF Camp?
What's up?
More Ortus training.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. See, so Luis is going to Bangalore without me. Well, he's ditching us the CF Camp training. It's going to be Eric and I pulling the weight all by ourselves. So we'll be having fun, even if Luis isn't there.
Now, do you guys have a topic for that yet, or is it still open for discussion?
I think we have a pretty good idea, but we're still willing to take any input from people. But yeah, that's going to be it's going to be 2-day workshops. And there's going to be 2 of them side by side, kind of like the CF Summit sort of setup. So you can choose which workshop you want. And a 2-day workshop's a nice length, to kind of dig in and get some advanced content. So that'll be Eric Peterson and myself, and that'll be on the 15th and 16th of October, which I believe are leading up to CF Camp. So if you're booking any flights or trains or planes or automobiles, then you can schedule that so you can get there in time to get a couple days of Ortus training. And it's right there in the exact same hotel that CF Camp is in. It's a really nice hotel. They had this machine last year that would make fresh squeezed orange juice. Nice. It was amazing. It had this hopper of oranges on top, and you would just hold a glass under it and push a button, and they would pull oranges down, cut them in half, and squeeze them into your cup in this repeated fluid motion. I drank so much orange juice because I just wanted to watch the machine work. So if the training isn't enough to sell you, the orange juice machine, which I hear is going to be there again, that should really be able to close the deal for you to want to come to CF Camp and check out the trainings.
Nice. On a slightly unrelated note, I saw something. Something on Shark Tank the other day, and basically they were using physics to pour a beer, and they had 2 beers. Well, 2 glasses of beer. One was poured normally, and then one was poured, and it produced the right amount of foam, and head on the top. And however it was done, it was kind of like aerating the beer, I guess, kind of like you do on wine. But it was using kind of like a Keurig machine, and everyone on the Shark Tank, man, they raved about how well it made the beer taste? I don't know, but it sounds pretty cool. It's a good gimmick to spend $200 on a device just to get beer to taste like different beer. You know?
Yeah, science, man.
Buy cheap beer, throw it through a $200 machine. Now you have good beer, right? Anyway, whatever. So
they have a lot of beer at CF Camp too. Germans know their beer, man. So the bar is right there.
Yeah, so orange juice will probably be good for that. We'll consider that for Vegas or something. All right.
There's a lot of beer in Vegas too.
Oh, that's true. Okay, Texas. I don't know. Somewhere we gotta have beer. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. But anyway,
I don't drink, so it's all yours, man.
Root beer, buddy. A&W, man, all day long. All right.
How about that?
So this brings us to the blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. And let's see what we have here. The first thing we want to mention, boom. If you guys cannot hear us, please let us know. Brad? Look, you just leave me hanging.
I can't hear you, Andrew.
Oh. Well,
no, I'm just kidding. I can hear you. Do you want to talk about code coverage? Is that what we got up?
Yep, we got code coverage up. Now, this is a screencast that this lovely person to my, well, whatever way you're looking at. This way.
Over here. Right here.
Yeah, there you go. To my right, put together. Tell us about code coverage, because I could try to, but I'm going to fail it. Just you're the one.
Yeah, right.
You know.
So code coverage is basically extra metric that you capture during your unit test or integration test, any kind of automated testing that you do, and it basically tells you how much of your application is being hit by your tests. So if you have a CFC with 4 functions in it and you only have tests for 2 of those functions, then your code coverage is in theory like 50% in that CFC, right? So a lot of times there's no good way to know like what line of, did this line of code, did line 24 run? Yes or no? I don't know, right? So we teamed up with the guys at Fusion Reactor, and they have a really cool ability built into the Fusion Reactor monitoring tool that can instrument your code at a bytecode level, which I won't even try to explain how all that works, but it can track every single line of Cold Fusion code and know whether or not it ran. And so while you're running your unit test, Testbox 3.0, if you have a Fusion Reactor installed and licensed on the same server, it can actually tell you every single line of code that executed while your tests were running and what lines of code didn't run. And then it basically kind of points out to the parts of your application that are missing tests. It's not being tested. Maybe else statements, or a default case, or a try-catch block that you're not hitting. And you can kind of use that to improve the quality of your test. So that comes out of the box in Testbox 3. And so the screencast I put out this week basically just has like a 5-6 minute intro of starting from scratch, spinning up an app. Oh yeah, I got the Fusion Reactor mug. Nice.
You saw that.
Yeah. My video's delayed, but I saw you doing it a minute ago. Yeah, so the screencast just shows you how to get started, how to spin up a server, how to run the test, how to generate the output from them. So if that's interesting to you and your team, then that screencast will get you started. And if you don't have a Fusion Reactor license, you can get a 2-week trial. Go to their website and you can play with it. And they also have a developer license that's super cheap, that's basically fully functional. You just can't use it in production, which is a fantastic deal. So that's the code coverage screencast right there.
I wanted to ask you while I got you. Now, there's a code coverage. I'm assuming that's probably only going to be for like unit tests and such. Because if you have an integration test, can it? Does the coverage cover that, or?
Yeah, it'll work on everything.
Because it's based off the actual runtime from Fusion Reactor.
Yeah.
Then. Okay.
Yeah, it instruments the actual compiled bytecode that your Cold Fusion generates.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically every line of code has a little kind of ET phone home injected into it. So every time a line of code runs, it knocks on this little kind of Fusion Reactor class in memory and says, hey, line 15 just ran. Hey, line 27 just ran, right? And so it really doesn't matter what kind of test you're running. It wipes all the information, so it starts with a clean slate. It runs through all of your tests, and then at the end it says, okay, what are all the lines of code and all the files that executed? And then we calculate that, and we crunch the numbers, and we give you percentages and file by. Yeah, we can give you breakdowns line by line. These blocks ran, these blocks don't run. So integration test, unit testing, it works across the board for all of them.
Nice.
It's really, really fun to play with. If you have an existing unit test suite, it's really fun to take bets with your other coworkers. I totally did this internally at Ortus. Before I ran it for the first time on Coldbox, I was like, all right, everybody place your bets. How good do you think Luis's code coverage is, in the cold box framework? And we had bets ranging from like 50%. I think Luis said 95%. I think it actually rang in at like 85% or so. It really wasn't that bad, but
That's good.
It's super fun to kind of just see how good how comprehensive your test suite is. So
yeah, absolutely.
You'll want to play with that, to be honest.
All right, I'll definitely do that. I got to get caught up on my actual work, but that's always a problem. It's like I got real work to do, man. I can't just play all the time. Yeah,
real work and fun work.
No, it's two different things. So next, what we have is actually another submission from you. It was about CFconfig, and I know you're just
that Brad Wood guy just won't shut up on Twitter.
I know. I felt obligated. You're going to be the host. I should at least like throw you a bone or something.
If I spent more time arguing with people, I wouldn't tweet as much stuff like this, wouldn't I? I'm not going to touch that. We had a little nice client-sponsored feature for CFconfig. Adobe Cold Fusion allows you to store your sessions in an external Redis cache. And so we added the ability to import and export those Redis cache settings from your Adobe Cold Fusion servers with CFconfig. It was a fairly small feature, but it's nice if you're using it. I pointed it out just because that's something that CFconfig didn't support because, frankly, I didn't use it, so I personally didn't care, so I hadn't added it. But we had a client, an Ortus client, that said, hey, we're using the Redis cache, but we see CFconfig doesn't support it. Can we sponsor you to add the feature in? We're like, yeah, absolutely, right? When someone says, shut up and take our money, we say, yes, sir. So the moral of that story is if there's anything you come across in CFconfig or command box, cold box, content box, you name it, and you're like, man, I really wish you guys added X, Y, Z in, you can always sponsor the feature, and that's exactly how this feature got added. Is a client said, hey, how many hours would this take? And in this instance, it was a client that had a support contract with Ortus already, and so we were able just to use a few of their hours that they had already prepaid. So we had it done in a couple days. So Anyway. Little shameless plug for Ortus's professional open source, but that's how you get stuff fast tracked. I might have gotten to that eventually, but it might have taken me a while. But when you say I'll pay for it, they'll be like, yes, sir, I'll have it done for you tomorrow,
right?
Or soon. Don't quote me on tomorrow.
Oh yeah, always tomorrow. Always the fastest.
That's what the sales team said. They said it's done.
Of course it is. Well, then now it's got to go through billing, before it can be released, right? Can't release it to you. It's done, but when you pay for it, it's whatever. It's inside funny joke. So next, what we have up, I'm going to skip over this S3 one here. I want to talk about Fusion Reactor 8.1 being released. And I know you play a lot with Fusion Reactor, and I have it saved my behind several times. I'm actually using it now for tracing on some tests. When I was trying to do my integration test, there were some items that weren't firing. You actually helped me on them.
Yep.
And so Fusion Reactor really helped pinpoint as to where things were not firing when they should have. What do you know about this latest update? Anything new and exciting in it? Would you care to mention?
I'll be really honest. I haven't had a chance to dig too deep into the release notes for it.
But it is released.
It is released. I know it has some new features and improvements that are in it. I was mostly excited about Fusion Reactor 8.1 because if you're using command box for your servers and you're using our super handy command box Fusion Reactor module, which you just install that module, and whenever you start a server, it just automatically has the Fusion Reactor Java agent added and configured ready for you to use, which is super handy. The newest version of that module now will automatically download new versions of Fusion Reactor as soon as they come out. So the Integral guys are putting their Fusion Reactor releases on ForgeBox, which is super cool. So if you're using the Fusion Reactor command box module as of yesterday, all you have to do is just restart your server or just start it if it stopped. And command box will look at ForgeBox and go, oh, look, a new version of Fusion Reactor has appeared. I'll suck it down off the interwebs, deploy it, and bada bing, bada boom, all your servers are on Fusion Reactor 8.1. So there's literally not an easier way to keep up to date on Fusion Reactor. And if you're like me and you're kind of a Fusion Reactor junkie, that just gives you a nice warm fuzzy feeling.
You're a junkie. There was another little a Twitter topic going around. I'd like to find it. It was actually going on today. It was one Eric Peterson replied to. I'm going to see if I can find that because I like to bring that up and maybe get your feel on it. But what we do have next is TerraTech has released a podcast with Carl Von Stetten, Dan Fredericks, and Dave Ferguson. Did a little podcast, and it was about Learn CF in a Week. And of course, the screen you're seeing in the background here is about Learn CF in a Week, just because it fit better on here than the direct link to TerraTech and their podcast. But it was good and interesting. I got about through halfway of it, but anyway, they're talking about what Learn CF in a Week is. Have you yourself? I know it's been a long time since you had to learn CF in a week, Brad. But
I didn't learn it in a week, man.
Ted, did we ever really learn it in a week? Do we really even?
I don't know.
No.
I started back in the early 2000s, and it was CF 4.5. It was still a layer at the time.
Oh yeah.
And it took. I kind of learned it slowly. I've gone through the Learn CF in a Week content, and it was it's been out there for quite a while, but Simon Free helped get all that stuff going, but it hadn't really been updated in quite a while. So I've been excited to see some of these guys in the community like Dan and Carl kind of picking up that torch and running with it to keep Learn CF in a Week updated and kind of moving forward. So kudos to those guys for kind of helping that project move forward. So I haven't had a chance to watch that CF Live podcast, but it looks like it should be a pretty good one.
Yeah, for sure. And there's one thing too I want to mention here. We have a blog post by Brian Class. Now, I guess he's kind of been dubbed the AWS guy, right? Is that safe to say?
He definitely is an expert in it, that's for sure.
I mean, it's kind of like you're the command box guy, right?
If you say so.
Whatever, you are.
Depends on who's asking.
Yeah, so anyway, this blog post is talking about Cold Fusion dropping support for the S3 and new S3 buckets. And basically what has happened is, they've updated a signature version from 2.0 to their 3.0. And it's kind of just going through talking to you about, I'll scroll down here. You can kind of see what's happening, what needs to be updated and things like that. Now, this also kind of brings us to another section, which is going to be our ForgeBox module of the week, right? Our ForgeBox module of the week is going to be AWS-CFML. And that library was actually recommended by Brian Class. And what it does, it's basically an API for a lot of AWS components. It works for Cognito Identity, DynamoDB, Elasticsearch, Elastic Transcoder. I'm not even sure what half of these are. Recognition, but it has S3, which I do know. SNS, which I do know.
Yeah, I know S3. Got that one.
SQS, simple queuing service, I can imagine.
I believe that's correct.
And then Translate, I'm going to assume, is going to be a translation service. But anyway, this AWS-CFML module is going to be our module of the week here. So go
and
check
that's
it out.
from John Berquist, it looks like.
Yep, from John, and we've featured him several times. One being on the CF format. And here's another one.
Yeah, this module looks like it's had quite a bit of development. It first came out back in August 2017. There's been pretty regular releases. So
yeah, constantly staying.
I'm just looking at the version tab here on ForgeBox. It's nice to kind of gauge the activity in a module. You can just see exactly how often it's been released. So
yeah, for sure. And two, there is. I'm going to actually bring this over here on my screen, and we're going to get a live. Boom. Let's see if this can work, because we're going to do the VS Code tips and tricks of the week. Yep. Fingers crossed.
Crazy.
Fingers crossed. All right. Boom. So this tip and trick here, hopefully that's code that I can share. Yep, it is. Temp cold box. Perfect. Oh.
Code you can share.
Well, hey, there's an API key here. Go steal it and use it, but that would be my luck. But this came in from Eric Peterson. It's just a real quick tip in order to go to find symbols in an individual file. And for Mac, it's going to be Command.
Now,
Shift
when you say
O.
symbols, define what that means. You talk about finding symbols.
Well, you see on the screen there, they call these symbols, right? And I don't really know what symbols are in VS Code, to be honest with you, but I do know that it basically highlights each individual function, right? And then each individual variable set. So as you see, I'm highlighting as I scroll down here for order service. So order service must be, Yeah, so order service is the component echo, and then the index is the function. So this is what each individual symbol means, right? So that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of helps you find a function in an individual file. And to take that to another level is you could do the same thing in a workspace. Think about this.
Nice.
Yeah, if you do, and you can map these however you want. Mine was just Command R. Eric's was mounted to something different.
My Windows computer doesn't have a command button. Does that mean I can't use this module?
Yeah.
Or this
I
extension?
mean, what do y'all use what do you use instead of command?
Usually it's Alt, I think, or Windows key. I'm not sure.
Well, it's one of those too. If we can figure it out. So if you're over here, now it's not even working for me. I don't even know what. I want to show it. It's awesome. But it allows you to do basically the same thing throughout your whole entire workspace, right? And crud. I think mine was mapped a little differently, and so it's not actually.
This is a great example, Andrew.
Man, come on. Hey, it was working earlier, right? Like, what do you do, man? Command R.
See, I haven't used this one yet, so I can't bail you out, man.
All right, so Command T. Oh yeah, I say so. Okay, for me it's Command T. That's it. I'd updated my notes and then I messed up there. So Command T is what it is for me. So cool. If you're in your whole workspace, right? This is really cool. So if you're looking for on request starts, you can do Command T or whatever the equivalent there is in the Mac or the Windows. Pull up this little search box and just do on request start. So it helps you find all the on request start functions in your workspace. So really cool. So like if you had a any kind of interceptor or anything like that, you're trying to find where it was called or anything like that. I mean, bam, there it is.
So how does that differ from just like an extended find for that string? Or is this parsing the code to the point where it would only find function definitions,
exactly,
not that string just in a comment or something?
Exactly. This is actually finding actual functions.
Okay, so an extended find might find a comment that just had that phrase, but this is aware of what the actual code is.
Exactly.
Cool.
So what's another one? What's another on session, right? Bam, that all the on session. So the equivalent of, let's see, on, right? If we were to do that, you see this is what it would look like. 10 results in 4 files. Obviously this does work because it is, they are functions. It's just a, quick way of trying to find what you're looking for.
All right, so what's the name of this guy again?
This is just built in. It's just VS Code tips.
So this isn't even an extension. This is just VS Code functionality.
Yeah, just using VS Code, man. That's it. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, give that a shot, and I'm going to come back to us.
I'm still a VS Code newbie. I used Cold Fusion Builder for years because I hated change and I was so used to the shortcuts. But everything about VS Code I like, so I gotta learn this stuff so I can get productive.
Yep, and that'll be in the show notes. It's really cool, man. I mean, because just trying to find an exact function. I mean, it could be anywhere. And yes, you can do a search. And I found myself even doing in searches like doing function space, just to narrow it down. But that doesn't always work, because there could be 2 spaces or it could be.
Yeah, it's nice when your searches are actually understand what the code is doing. It's not just a raw text search.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly.
And that's something that Cold Fusion developers, I think, have always lagged behind a bit in. Like Java IDEs, have had like very powerful search features for years and years. And Cold Fusion searches have almost always just been pure text-based searches. So it's cool to see
text or regex.
Well, yeah, I mean, regex is still a text search, right?
Yeah.
But it's cool to see IDE support that allows you to search your code in a way that's aware of what the code is actually doing. It knows that's a function definition. It's not just text that may be a function definition.
Yep. Dude, I totally agree. So I guess this here kind of wraps up what we have for you guys. Now on to the fun stuff of thanking our Patreon supporters. And tell us what all Patreon goes for. I mean, what happens?
Patreon goes to finance Luis's private yacht.
And trips to India, right? Without you?
That thing has to be washed twice a week. You wouldn't believe it. No, just kidding. No, all the Patreon support that we get, that money goes straight to our open source products. So we have internal budgets every month of hours we spend on Command Box, Cold Box, Content Box, CFconfig, all your favorite open source things, and those Patreon dollars go straight to that budget. So we are super thankful for everybody on that list because they're basically helping push those forward. We can run down the names real quick. Andrew, Gary, Jan, Joseph, Laxma, Richard, John, Carl, Don, Samuel, David, Yogesh, Stephen, Dan, Jeremy, Brian, Didier. So much thanks to all you guys because you're all helping this stuff keep going.
So much love.
So much love. Yeah, I think there's even more that I missed. I don't think I got.
We had a few new additions on there as well.
Yeah, if you go to the ortussolutions.com About Us sponsors page, we actually list all of our Patreon supporters with their pictures. So if you start supporting Ortus with a Patreon, you can get your lovely mug up on our site as well. So we also have some support plans for companies that might want to pour a bit more money in that an individual might be able to afford. If you guys really rely heavily on Ortus products and you want to help pour into that, you can actually get meetings with Luis on a regular basis and actual say in the direction of our products. And we like it that way. The people that are helping pay to push the open source forward, you get to help control where it goes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else we need to mention before we wrap this up? We had mentioned talking about job postings. Now, there is a jobs section in the CFML Slack called Jobs.
Yeah, the Jobs channel.
Yeah, but if any company has a job that they would like for us to announce on here, we talked about maybe a one-time Patreon submission to get it up there. It's totally up to you. I don't know. Just trying to find ways of getting more information out there without this just sounding like a monotonous everyday ramble, So help us with content. We do appreciate that.
Yeah, and if you guys see any good articles or blogs or something that maybe we've missed, feel free to send those over, and we can talk about them on the next show as well.
Yeah, for sure. Keep tweeting them. Hashtag CFML. Shoot us.
Hashtag Modernize or Die.
Modernize or Die. But cool, man. Well, I think this is going to wrap it up for us. I guess will Gavin be joining me next week, or are you going to be doing it?
I think Gavin's still out. I'm going to be down in Branson next week, and I'll have to see what my schedule is to know if I'll be near a computer.
Cool.
So I may or may not be able to join. But we'll see.
Might be going solo again.
Yep. Hopefully I'll be around a computer that day, but I'll have to see what the schedule holds.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll join me, and hopefully everybody listening will join us next week as well for the next edition of the Modernize or Die podcast. That's it for today, guys.
Peace and love.
Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.